Hey guys, I'm back and yeah, Disney was awesome. I had a great time, I learned a lot, I went to a lot of very fun places and things like that. Now I'm back here. I didn't win the competition, but I'm still waiting for the top 10 to be published, so there's still hope. So Raul, I think you actually accomplished your challenge because I challenged you to try to do something, not to actually fulfill it. But anyways, I'm gonna try to do it too, just for fun, and so that you don't complain that I'm trying to chicken out on this or anything. So I have my timer over here. Go. This is a terrible idea. Anyways, it took me about a minute. I couldn't do it in the time. Anyways, I think this is done. And for your challenge, here's Jordi.
Hi.
In this episode, I want to talk to you about something that I really find really interesting, and it's the 27 Club. You've probably heard me talk about it before. It's a club that includes great musicians who died at the age of 27. So, without further ado, welcome to Victorville. Now, before we go on, we really need to change the font of the title of our channel. I'm really bothered about it every time I look at it, but I always forget to tell you, so let's change it. It's 27 Club. This is not actually a strictly defined club. It's basically just a group of artists who died at the age of 27. This is a very popular age for artists to die for some reason. Actually, if you look it up on Wikipedia, there are currently 64 artists that have died in that age, important artists, which is an astounding amount of artists considering that they're very young and there should be no reason for all of them to die at that age. Now, the problem I have with this club is not the existence of the club itself, but the inclusion of Amy Winehouse in it when talking about the most important members of the 27 Club. Like if you see posters of that people put up on the streets or that they sell or that they draw on the walls about the 27 Club, and they include the big ones: Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Brian Jones, Kurt Cobain, and they add Amy Winehouse. And don't get me wrong, Amy Winehouse was amazing. She had an amazing voice. She had a great talent, but you can't put her next to this kind of artist. Take a look at the ones that I consider the most important artists in the 27 Club. The ones that when I talk about 27 Club, I talk about these 5 artists, maybe 6. We have Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin is considered by many to be the queen of rock and roll. She's definitely one of the greatest singers and musicians of all rock and roll history. Then we have Jim Morrison. He was the singer for the great rock and roll band The Doors, which is one of the most iconic bands in the 60s. He was the Lizard King. He was a very mystical man. He was the essence of what a rock star should be in the 60s. I have a poster with his face on it over there. Ignore my bed. It's right there. And he was amazing. He was a great poet and great singer, a great musician. Then we have Brian Jones. He was a member of the Rolling Stones. You don't need anything else. The Rolling Stones are arguably the best or second best rock and roll band of all time, and they're still rocking out today. Then we have Jimi Hendrix. Now, I think Eric Clapton is the greatest guitarist of all time, but that's just because putting Jimi Hendrix alongside with any other guitarist would be an understatement. He simply changed everything. There'll never be anyone as good as him at guitar. We have these 4 artists who all died between 1969 and 1971. And then in the 90s we had Kurt Cobain, who committed suicide. He might as well be the last real rock star. Before pop started to eliminate rock and roll from the radio, Kurt Cobain is the last musician that we can take a look at and admire and feel like he's from another planet. We could also add Robert Johnson. He died in the 20s, but they called him the grandfather of rock and roll, because he was the blues player that started it all. Most guitarists from the 50s, 60s, and 70s will tell you that they were heavily influenced by this single guitar player and singer, and every other guitarist that came after them was inspired by these guitarists from the 50s through the 60s, 70s. So yeah, music today wouldn't be the same without that single person. Now the problem with Amy Winehouse is not that she wasn't great, because she was. If we wanted to talk about the greatest artists that are on that list, we'd have to include a lot more of them. As I said, there are 64 other artists that have died at that age. And that includes some other big ones, such as we have Alan Wilson, who died during the 60s, and he was as the singer for Canned Heat, which was also a legendary 60s band, one of the most important of that time. We have Ron Pickpen McKernan, who was a member of the Grateful Dead, which if you know anything about 60s music, you know about the Grateful Dead. And Dave Alexander, he was a member of Iggy and the Stooges. You might have heard of Iggy Pop. He was a great musician, and the Stooges were his band, and he was a member of it. So those were really, really important artists. They were extremely influential on their time, but that's it. You can't put them on the level of these 5 artists that I talked about. They're not as legendary. You can't look at them and say like, whoa, this man is from another planet. They were just really, really awesome. Well, that's my opinion anyways. Maybe I'm a little biased because I'm talking about some of my greatest influences and my favorite artists. She doesn't make the cut. Now, anyways, it's challenge time. And yes, this goes for the both of you, Jordi and Raul. I couldn't think of a better challenge. So, on your next video, you'll have to recite the alphabet backwards and also introduce yourself backwards. Also, I just uploaded a cover of Regina Spektor's On Radio, so check it out if you like. The link is in the description. And I'll see you soon.